It all began when I was 17 years old and I was approached by a teacher stating,
"Hey Janina, we all know you're suicidal."
What's up, generation? I'm Janina, a Cologne-based blogger, and I'm obsessed with helping you overcome depression, anxiety, and eating disorders. Today I'm here to tell you something about my personal story and about 3 misconceptions that are very common about the topic of suicide and depression. So yes, that was exactly what my teacher said in the most arrogant and convinced manner possible. And since that day, that random claim that has never been reality before was something that was constantly there. So I was not suicidal, but the day he said that, I became it. This is one of the biggest confessions I made so far, and it even outshines my story about my eating disorder as well as about domestic violence. So talking about suicide and depression is like another level. The reason is that when you say you suffer from domestic violence or if you have an eating disorder, people consider you to be the poor victim. But if you say that you are suicidal, you are instantly and immediately judged, you are excluded, you are fight against, people will work against you. You can feel their force combining against you. They will judge you and they will think that they have the right to take away your freedom, that they have the right to interfere in your life. And in my opinion, that is one of the biggest mistakes you can make, because no one has the right to interfere in someone else's life. But before I explain that, let's break down the facts. So suicide or being suicidal is like the epidemic of depression and anxiety. And we have to see, like, depression affects about 18% of the population. So it is one of a common mental problem, and yet we all feel ashamed to talk about it. So what differs suicide from depression is that suicide feels deeply wrong to us human beings. So we are supposed to live. We are living ones, of course. And if someone considers suicide, everyone else is going to tell him or to tell her to see a doctor, to not do it, or they will start to judge, they will start to force you to do things. Now comes a true controversial part. I don't want you to misunderstand. If you are in a depressed or suicidal condition, okay, everyone is going to tell you to see a doctor. I won't, okay? I don't want you to misunderstand. If you want to see a doctor, do it, but I won't tell you that you need to, because I think this is one of the biggest mistakes possible. Everyone is going to tell you, oh, go see a doctor, you will feel normal again afterwards. I won't do it, but I know that it is controversial, so I don't mind if you disagree. But having been in that condition, I know that not always a doctor is the right thing to do. I just don't think that anyone has the right to judge over you. I just think it's wrong. And so I want to talk about the mental problems that are very likely to be prior to being suicidal. At least that was the case for me. So I suffered from domestic violence for about 15 years, which is a very, very long time. And I was silent about it. I never, ever would have talked about it. I wasn't even fully aware, but it caused me to have a lot of mental issues, like insecurities and anxiety. And it eventually led to me being very underweight for a few weeks. Yeah, maybe a few months, but there were weeks when it was very, very visible, and I got immediately judged. People started to whisper, to talk about me. They were looking at me, and I could feel it all the time, but it was nothing new to me. Honestly, I had problems with racism throughout my childhood, so people whispering around was nothing new. It was hurtful, yes, but it was familiar. That all immediately changed when I saw the contempt in the eyes of my teacher. So he approached me, he made an assumption that I was suicidal, and he immediately judged me very intensely, just in a second took away all my basic human rights. There was no respect. Until that point of my life, I had never ever considered anything like suicide. I was a young girl, I was not happy, but I was not that unhappy that I would consider suicide. I was a little bit depressed, but it was nothing major. However, that day changed everything. He treated me like if my mental disease would take away all my basic human rights. And this is an important point. So I do feel like a lot of mental diseases remain untreated, or those people don't really receive help because everyone surrounding them is only treating them with pity and arrogance. And this eventually does not lead to help. So this eventually does not lead to people opening up. So if you pity someone, or if you think, oh, that poor guy, that poor girl, he's depressed, or he's suicidal, or whatever it is, that arrogance won't make them open up. It will make them feel even more lonely. So I thought about roasting 3 super popular claims about depressed and suicidal people today. So people will always tell you,
you know, you're one of millions suffering from depression. This is normal. You know, everyone is like that. You're not alone.
False. Completely false. No one who is depressed wants to hear something like that. And it is not even the truth. Everyone is individual. You don't know their story. You don't know why they are the way they are. So it is very important to tell people that they are unique, because they actually are. To say you're one of a million is putting down their problems, so they will feel even worse about themselves. We all have our individual story, and if everyone is going to tell you, oh, we know how you feel, you know, this is going to feel like crap, because no one knows how you feel. No one knows how I feel. I mean, only I do, and sometimes you don't really know how you feel yourself. You're just feeling lonely, depressed, unhappy. But if people are constantly telling you, oh, I know how you feel, this is a disaster actually. It's one of the worst things you can say, and it is one of the one you will hear most often. If you say you're depressed, or you're in a bad situation, or you are maybe even suicidal, everyone's going to tell you, oh, I know how you feel, you're one of a million. Oh damn, this sucks. It's just the truth, it sucks. So if we are suffering from depression and we are opening up to our friends, our family, or even our doctor, you know, no one knows the true problem behind. We are all in the same boat. We don't know what has caused the depression. So the summary is very simple. You know, you are alone in this. It is the fat truth, but it is necessary to know that you are alone facing that challenge in the end. You have to make the decision. You will have to decide that you want to live. No one can make the decision for you, and you have to make the decision based on your own experiences, on your conscience, on what you want to achieve in your life. So you will have to be the one looking into the mirror, thinking, okay, do I want to live? Do I want to die? You have to make the decision. You know, people will tell you, go see a doctor, he will make you want to live again. This does not happen that easily. You know, in the end, it is you and only you. No one else can force you to live. You have to look into the mirror and really make the decision. Be aware of the positive and the negative, and be true to yourself. I have a small personal advice for you left. No one can decide if you should live or die, but life is a privilege. Remember that. If you make the decision, remember that life is a privilege, and you have now the chance to choose life. Number 2 that people will always tell you is,
oh, your absence will create grief in the lives of your loved ones.
Really? I mean, this is my reaction. Really? Will it? I mean, it feels like, you know, they might cry, but they will party the next day, nevertheless. It's just the truth. It is what humans are. They don't really care. And if you are in a state of depression, you are very likely to feel lonely somehow. so you don't really feel like you've got any beloved friends or family members. So this sentence does not make any sense at all. Who will grieve over me? So if you are in the state of being suicidal or depressed, it does not help if people tell you, oh, others will cry about you. And even if so, even if it was true and people care about you and love you and they would be really, really sorry. I want to quote Anna Frank because I just think she's such an inspiration. Dead people receive more flowers than the living ones because regret is stronger than gratitude. I want you to really think about this sentence because it is so intense. What I want to say is that there's another side of depressed and suicidal people that is maybe not so often talked about. Sometimes you just want to be noticed. It's just about being relevant again. You want to create grief and anger. You want to because you feel like you go into a room and no one's really happy to see you, or no matter where you are totally irrelevant. And sometimes there's an aspect of suicide that makes you feel like, you're noticed again. Finally, you're noticed again. I want you to understand that this sentence, oh, you will create grief, is either nonsense or exactly what is actually desired by the person. So the reason the words of my teacher actually caused me to be suicidal was, first of all, of course, the contempt. There was so much hate that it just made me feel unworthy. But there was something else. I thought like, okay, if it really happens, then you might feel regret. I was so angry at my teacher at that point. I thought, if I'm really dead, then you might understand. You might notice that I am a being with feelings. This was actually what I felt at that point. To break the second point down, first of all, it might simply not be true. There might be no grieving people for that person. So don't say it because it might even be more harmful. Second of all, it is not helping as this person might only want that attention. So to say, oh come on, there will be people crying about you, it's just not helpful at all. The third sentence you will definitely hear if you say you're depressed or suicidal is,
oh, there are so many things you can still accomplish in life.
Oh dear Lord. People misconcept depression with foolishness. Only because we are depressed, we are no fools. It's not like, we've got endless possibilities and we choose not, we choose death instead. It's not like that. Just that those paths might simply not be there. There are people who might not see them, but there are also a lot of depressed people are actually smart. They can see their lives, they have tried things over and over again, and they haven't succeeded, and they just only see pain in their future anymore. They can't see joy. There might be no joy, and you have to be aware of that. You don't know who that person is, what he or she has been going through. So to say, oh, there's so many things you can still accomplish in life, it's just bullshit. It's not the truth. These people, they might not have a silver lining. For me, life is an equation, and sometimes things change. If they do, that equation might not be worth it anymore. And this is the way a lot of depressed and suicidal people actually think. They think, okay, I put in that effort and that is the outcome, and this is not worth it for me. So you have to be aware, if you're, for example, a caring family member and there's someone you worry about in your family, be aware that to say, oh, you can accomplish so many things in life does not really help that person, because this person, first of all, he or she might not be able to see that, and second of all, maybe it is simply not there. Maybe there is no silver lining and there is no sense creating a hope that is simply not there, to say things that are so random and worthless. So maybe that person have tried so many times, but the outcome does not justify the effort anymore. And there can be a lot of reasons. You know, you do not know about the personal history of that person. You don't know if he or she might have some enemies that are constantly passing obstacles in his or her way. You don't know if he or she was born maybe differently or with less chances than you might have been. If you are in that state of being depressed, maybe you feel like the world doesn't want you, doesn't need you. And I can only tell you, I have been going through that feeling, and sometimes I am still nowadays feeling that the world doesn't like you, that people don't understand you, that your true you is not desirable, is not nice, is nothing that people want to be befriended with. To sum it up, I won't tell you that there are a lot of things you can do in this world yet. You know, I just don't believe in it. I think I don't know who's actually watching right now. I don't know who you are. I don't know if you might have no chances at all. But there is one thing I want to remind you of. You can make this world a better place. I will explain. So it is often said that humanity is a virus to this planet Earth. I don't believe in that. I don't believe that, you know, we humans, we do wrong all the time. We destroy our environment. This is all true. But what really is a virus, in my opinion, is a likeness. So if one city looks like another, if one person is just like the other person, you know, if there's no individuality anymore, that is a virus to me. So there's a reason you are depressed and not your neighbor, not your mother, or not your friend. There's a reason that you are different. So if you're watching this and you are actually in the state of being suicidal, or you're afraid to become suicidal one day, be aware that you are somehow different. You are somehow different to the others, which is actually causing you to have those mental problems. Diversity is key. It is key for life, and it is key for love. It is what I treasure in this world. Be aware that if you are coping with depression, you are somehow different. So you are something individual, and that's why you are worth living and fighting. It's okay to feel bad about yourself and your personality sometimes. You know, I do sometimes feel bad about my skin color, about my body shape, about my hair color. You might not be the next Cara Delevingne or the next Cristiano Ronaldo. The question is, do you really want to be the next Cara Delevingne? Do you really want to be exactly like Cristiano Ronaldo? Is that really what is your goal? So this was quite a long video. I hope that it was helpful to you. There's one more thing I gotta say. So I can only tell you, I don't know why you're watching. If you're actually depressed, if you want to help someone, or if you just randomly clicked on this video, you might feel, behave and think completely different about the things that I just told you. I don't claim them to be true. It's my personal story. I told you my top 3 sentences that I consider to be wrong, but that's just about it. As I already mentioned, we humans suffer from stereotyped thinking. So you might be in a total different state. Don't get fooled by me or by anyone else. When we talk about suicide, we talk about life somehow, and life is always individually. So if you want to help someone, if you're watching this because you want to help someone, this is great, you know, this is remarkable, but that's just about it. In the end, each and everyone has his or her own life, and he or she has to take responsibility, and I cannot judge about you, I can't judge about, you know, anyone, and neither can you. Yeah, that's about the end message of this. I hope it was interesting to you. I hope that you learned something, or you might, you know, have a completely different opinion. You can share it in the comment section. I will definitely reply. Otherwise, I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see each other next time.